loading snacks.
What's good, Loaded Snacks Universe? Your boy Jokes is here. I got the homie Marcus, and you know what that means? It's time for another edition of the Finisher Podcast.
Finisher.
Marcus, how we feeling today, man?
Feeling good, man. T minus how many more days until WrestleMania? Like what, 28, 29?
Yeah, we are inching closer to the showcase of the Immortals. And obviously, you guys are here to talk wrestling alongside us. So, we greatly appreciate you guys coming along with this journey with us. This is episode 17 that we are currently on now. For those of you guys, however you're tuning in, much appreciated. Make sure if you want to watch the show, you can watch it via YouTube, on all of our other social medias. If you want to be able to listen, this is on Spotify as well too. Just search Loading Snacks and it'll bring up this podcast alongside our others. Beacons.ai/loading snacks. That is just the easiest way to find all the links in one place so you can keep up with all the Loading Snacks shenanigans. But make sure everything that we have video wise, we've made it into that audio podcast as well too. So driving to work, wherever you may be at, you will be able to tune into the Finisher Podcast wherever you may be at. But we're going to continue conversations on around WrestleMania, I should say. Just necessarily about WrestleMania 41, like Marcus just said, coming up in so just a few short weeks. I'm enjoying the ride as usual. Things are starting to heat up. I don't know about you, Marcus. Them being overseas in Raw, SmackDown being
It's
smack there
weird,
in the middle
bro.
of the day,
It's weird.
it's weird. And obviously we're mostly always at work during this time, so you had to either catch up afterwards or somehow just keep up because like by the time it comes along, it's like we're gonna know most of the results anyway. But
Yeah, like
um,
when I get off work, I check my phone because my phone is locked up, and then I'm just like, oh, notification. This is starting in like 30 minutes, 5 minutes. And I'm just like, typical overseas.
yeah, this 3 and 4, it's hurt, but eventually, we get to catch up on there for it. But let's go ahead. I just want to. We're gonna continue some WrestleManias now, so let's go ahead and kick things off. So I want to ask you, what was your first WrestleMania that you actually saw? Like obviously not live or anything like, but like on TV, like whether it was pay per view. However, do you remember what was the first one that you actually saw?
The first one I actually saw was probably the one with The Rock and Hulk Hogan. Because I was
17
in,
or
think,
18?
yeah, that's either 17 or 18. I never forget it. I was in New York over my uncle's house, and they had it, and it just so happened that we had came up that during that time frame, and I was just like, oh, The Rock is wrestling, and this Hulk Hogan, oh, this is going to be good. And so that was probably my first actual like WrestleMania I actually saw, like, growing up.
Wow, like honestly, I thought you were gonna be somewhere in the realm. I mean, I can't say it's a couple back. WrestleMania 2000 would have been my first one. For those that WrestleMania 18, I'm be honest, probably wasn't the best WrestleMania that had what they had to offer for it, but that was probably my first gateway into the showcase of the Immortals. Um, we kind of start like we were more like I think we've had information before jumping over to the WWF
Mm-hmm.
train at the time for it. Um, but I just remember that, and this was crazy thing as a kid, like almost every I think every single match on that card was like it was some type of stipulation, and it wasn't a one-on-one match. The only one-on-one match that was on that card, I believe, was like I think she was going by the Cat at the time. Um, it was only one, and then everything else was like tag team match, hardcore match, uh, triangle ladder matches. Uh, yeah, Terry Runnels defeated the Cat. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only like one-on-one match that was on the WrestleMania card. To me, that's been always like a weird thing. Don't get me wrong. Um, the main event of that was Big Show versus Triple H versus The Rock versus Mick Foley in a four-way for the WWE Championship at the time. And it was an elimination match, so it wasn't like whoever got the first pinfall would take the victory from that. Like there were eliminations. It was, I believe, Big Show was eliminated first, then Mick Foley, and then inevitably Triple H beat The Rock with the help because everybody had a McMahon in their corner. It was this. I forget
Yeah,
exactly how the
I
whole
remember.
thing.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
had a
vaguely remember that storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody had a McMahon in the corner. Obviously, Triple H had Stephanie. Um, I'm trying to think. I think Big Show had Shane. The
Yep.
Rock had Vince, and Mick Foley had Linda. Because I think that was either before or after that whole thing where she was like in the I don't the comatose thing where like she was in the I don't
Yeah.
remember whole, but the McMahon's always had to be in the middle of everything that had to be for it.
Yep.
Um,
It was
but
WrestleMania 18. WrestleMania
mhm,
17 was The Rock versus Stone Cold,
Stone Cold, that was the
which I
second.
did vaguely see,
Listen,
but I saw
mm,
it through clips.
got it.
I remember seeing it through clips.
What would you say was your was the Rock versus Hulk Hogan your favorite match on that card, or did you have another one that was?
To be honest, I can't even remember everything else on that card. So I would have to say, that's probably my favorite match because at this point, this is like the peak Rock. Like this is
Mm,
him just like fully matured in the business,
mm-hmm.
so to speak. So yeah, actually, what who?
Yeah, go ahead and pull your card up. I'm interested. I'm interested. I want kind of want to compare cards, um, from our first WrestleMania. It's like for this one, I believe for me, it was the this was our introduction to, this was precursor to TLC, where we just had the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, and it was a ladder match for the tag team championships. But obviously, tables and chairs got involved in the match, which eventually evolved into the TLC match that we got at SummerSlam. I believe that was the following year on there.
Oh, this is a really good stable card. Now that I'm remembering it,
Let's go
you
to.
had a four corners elimination match with the APA, the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Billy and Chuck.
Hey.
Um, you then had Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hottie, and Albert
Mm-hmm.
versus Mr. Perfect, Lance Storm, and Test. Then you had RVD versus William Regal for the Intercontinental Championship. Oh, and Jacqueline was a special guest referee in that Rikishi match.
Okay.
You had DDP versus Christian for the European Championship.
Okay.
You had Maven versus Goldust for the Hardcore Championship with Spike Dudley pinning Maven out of nowhere. You
All
had
right.
Kurt Angle versus Kane.
Mm-hmm.
You had Undertaker versus Ric Flair in a no DQ match.
Oh, we know who won that match.
Uh, Edge versus Booker T.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Stone Cold versus Scott Hall with Kevin Nash.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about the Four Corners match, and that was for the WWF Tag Team Championship. Um, then you had The Rock versus Hulk Hogan,
Mm-hmm.
Jazz versus Trish Stratus with and Lita. So it was a triple threat match for the Women's Championship. And then Triple H versus Chris Jericho for the undisputed WWF Championship. Yeah, that's a really stable
That's
card.
nice. That's pretty hard that you got on. Let's compare this. So, um, WrestleMania 16 or WrestleMania 2000, however you go. Funny part is there's actually some similarities in here. So we had, and I think this may also include the pre-show in here possibly as well too. But we had the tag team match between Big Boss and Bull Buchanan versus the Godfather and D'Lo Brown. Uh, we had the Hardcore Championship, Hardcore Battle Royal for the Hardcore Championship. So the whole mixing match was in that match. Both highs were in the match, so we had Crash and Hardcore at the time. Another we had Tay versus or Texan Albert versus Head Cheese, Al Snow and Steve Bookman. Then we had, of course, the triangle ladder match for the tag team champions, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardy Boys. We had the cat fight with Terry Runnels versus the cat. We had a six-person intergender tag match with China and Too Cool versus the Radicals, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero. Um, China was amazing. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't because she was in that, but that's insane. Um, Now here was this was probably one of the better matches of the card. I actually forgot about this. So at the time, Kurt Angle was double champion. He was the
Mm-hmm.
Intercontinental and the European champion. Um, and so it was a triple threat match between him, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho. And I remember that match that each one of their falls was for one of the championships. Kurt Angle ended up losing both of his titles in that match. Um, Kane and Rikishi versus D-Generation X, X-Pac and Road Dogg. And then, of course, the main event, the Fatal 4-Way, Triple H, The Rock, Mick Foley, and Big Show. So, honestly, the card's not, it's not too bad. I feel like maybe at the time of who they had, that was
Well, we're
probably,
well
I don't want to
we're
say the pinnacle.
getting we're getting Eddie Guerrero being put having this push into like
Mm-hmm.
more screen time at that time. Um, we're getting the prime tag team action
Mm-hmm.
between all three legendary tag teams. Um, I remember TNA like being a really big thing. We're
That
getting
had been.
and hardcore and crash, both being like crash not so much at the peak, but getting in and like being that mentee to hardcore at that time. We had Funaki coming over from New Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and what was that other one? Uh, I forgot the that
Well, when they were
other
tag
jet.
team, when they were
No,
not Kai and Tai, they were Kai and Tai.
I forget what else. Taz coming fresh from I think this is when ECW folded. I think if I'm not mistaken, yeah, ECW had folded by then because
Yeah, because
we had Taz, we had RVD is net what like 2 years down the road. So yeah, this
mm-hmm.
is just like just before ECW folded.
Well, if Taz is in this match, ECW definitely folded.
Yeah,
Like, because there
so
wouldn't be at so damn, because that was 2000. That's crazy to think that far back. That oh man, that's insane. But as we kind of reflect on our first entryways into it, like WrestleMania has come a long way. Because from the beginning days, just thinking about there weren't stadium shows, so they were just doing the Madison Square Garden, like 20,000 people in there, and then wherever else they went to. I know WrestleMania 2000. I think they were like it was like 19. The capacity was like 19,000 and some change on there for it. To think from where we saw WrestleMania to now, like as you guys can see, like I got the picture when I was at WrestleMania 29, that we are full blown stadium shows, and not just one night, two nights now. It's crazy to think how far we have come from where WrestleMania has started from. Now, obviously, I know we've gone back and we've seen and reviewed a lot of the old WrestleManias pay per views from time to time, um, but it's like to think that we are now on 41 and with no signs of WrestleMania going away anytime soon, and they're just evolving,
yep,
and it's amazing to be along for this journey. Um,
we went from like $60 pay-per-views to basically you have a subscription and you can watch it for free.
Hey, bruh, take. I'm thinking about what. So when WrestleMania 2, so I recorded WrestleMania 2000 on VHS, and so it would be high quality. I think the high quality was SP. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it was SP,
Yeah, because
LP,
it
and
was S video. It
EP.
was S video at that time instead of,
Yeah.
and it was S video.
Hey,
What was
brother.
it? RGB.
RGB,
What
just
was it?
yeah,
Composite
composite at
component.
that point because it was no, it's composite. It was just yellow,
Yeah,
white, and red. All right, so we getting into like tech talk now. So for those that don't know, or if you remember back in the day when you hooked the TV up, you had the yellow, you had the white, and you had the red cables that you had to hook from like cable box to the TV. That's what we're talking about right now. But that kind of gives you an idea of when this was. But it took me with it being SP because if I remember right, when they did WrestleMania 2000, I believe they did like a whole like all day type of thing where they were like I don't know if they were showing previous WrestleManias, but they were like going through matches and showing something. It took me like four VHS cassettes to record like at least the show in its entirety in the S, so I could technically have that high quality order for it. But yeah, going from yeah, like you said, paying $60, $70, I feel like for some of them, to now being just you have your subscription service or whoever it is, hurry up Netflix and get a hold of the pay per view so I can
yeah.
stop paying for Peacock. Um, but yeah, so our journey is kind of now. Even though you started with WrestleMania 18, had you have been watching wrestling before that, or
Yeah, I
well,
was already watch. I was
I know you
watching
were
the
WC.
product. I
Okay.
watched WCW. I've watched WWF at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't really catch Raw all the time, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely watched SmackDown 100%
Okay.
of the time. Um, and that was just like the biggest thing. Is just like, all right, UPN 20. All right, no one like don't talk
Yeah.
to me like. Well, it's SmackDown time. It's the Rock show. Like this is it. Every like religious day. What was it? I think they were Thursday nights at the time before they
Yeah.
went back to
Started
Fridays,
started Thursday. It started Thursdays. It went to Fridays, and then at one point it went to Tuesdays,
Tuesday.
and then yeah, and now we're just back to now Friday is where we've landed at. Yeah.
Yep.
Other than Monday, the Jones bounced around almost the entire week for it. But it's crazy that we go back and we review some of these matches. Few people on these cards like we'll use WrestleMania 2000 just because it's further back. That I will say active, even if they are on like part time. Like just being able to like say The Rock, like he just main evented WrestleMania last year, or what? To think that this dude was on WrestleMania 16, and then a couple of them back if you think about it. Um, Crazy how the landscape has changed, but at the same time, there's those small things that necessarily haven't gone away, and I think that's a testament to one, those characters that some of them can stand the test of time. Don't get me wrong, retirements like the Undertaker, like this dude dates all the way back. You talked about yours, like Ric
Pre
Flair.
WCW, like this man, like really has been like he put in the work. They gave him an idea, didn't like the idea, but ran with it anyway. Turns out to be like the most successful thing he has ever done in his wrestling career is be the Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you'd
And
ask
like,
someone what was his gimmick before the Undertaker, like a lot of people wouldn't know. He's like, he had another gimmick before the Undertaker. Yes,
but it's just crazy that we go back and it's just let's just go through this. So let's see.
no more territories now. Territories are gone for the most
So
part.
so from WrestleMania 16, so we're going from 2000 all the way. We're in 2020, so 25 years. You know, in 25 years' time, we currently still have Edge and Christian both still competing. The Hardy Boys both still competing.
The
Um,
Dudley's still competing for from time to time.
technically on and off. I will say like full time, right? Well, I'm gonna say full time So Edge and Christian, the Hardys, definitely doing it. Um, who else do we have still in? Scotty Too Hotty has done a couple of things here and there. Obviously, Chris Jericho is still in.
Yep.
Um, D Generation X is just working backstage, so hey, they still there technically. Triple H is backstage. The Rock, for all intents and purposes, I don't want to say own, but this dude is a part of running the whole company now. Triple H right there alongside him. Um, Big Show, uh, active in like an admin role with AEW, still
Yep.
for it. So we still have a lot of these names from these shows that are still.
And even the people that we haven't mentioned, everyone,
Mhm.
they're working backstage or they have their own wrestling school training these up and coming guys, whether they go to the indies or what, they have their own schools and are passing the torch, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And like I switched also to look at like let's talk about like the other on screen personnel. So like Jerry Lawson, Jerry Lawler. So prime commentary time. Spanish commentators Carlos Cabrera and Hugo Savinovich. I can't even say his name or anything. Uh, Michael Cole was an interviewer
Yes, he was.
alongside with Kevin Kelly. The ring announcer Howard Finkel, and then just some of the referees that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with: Earl Hebner,
Yep.
Theodore Long, good old Teddy Long, and Tim White. I think those are going to be the three on this list that probably a lot of people are already familiar with, and like have gone on and done amazing things. Like,
Young
listen,
Nate.
hey, like let's look at like Teddy Long went from being a referee to being general manager of SmackDown to the man that coined to go one on one with the
The
Undertaker.
Undertaker. You're gonna go one on one with the Undertaker.
Dog, it's so cool to
Holla
kind
if
of
you
go
feel
back
me.
to kind of go back and look. Dog, I'm gonna have to go. I think I'm gonna watch a couple wrestling before we get to it, and just to kind of just to compare again, cause it's just amazing where we're at right now. I know I've said that a couple times now. Um, do you have a? I think we've parted. You have a favorite WrestleMania?
Ooh, it fluctuates
Mm-hmm.
on a day by day basis because I would say right now my favorite one will probably be last year's WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
We got a completion of a story. We had uh, an evolution of the bloodline. We've we've had a lot of great moments in that last WrestleMania,
Mm-hmm.
and like I won't say the previous WrestleManias had been met because I was like COVID time,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them were pretty meh.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that one is like up there right now. It goes between that one, WrestleMania 18,
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania 17. Uh, yeah, I would say just those three. It like rotates, and then maybe like a fourth or a fifth one. Like if I like go back, I was just like, oh yeah, I saw that one. That one was actually pretty good. Then I'll put it in the rotation.
I feel you. I, I flip flop for different reasons. Like I say 29 is my favorite just because of the fact it was the very first WrestleMania that I actually got to physically go to, and whereas maybe it didn't necessarily have actually, the card was solid still on 29. I mean, here we go. Like Undertaker, CM Punk. As much as we knew Undertaker was going to win that match, the CM Punk almost made that like feel like that there was a chance that Undertaker would lose that match. Not to mention, I got to see John Cena versus The Rock live, which was supposed to be this was the second time because it was supposed to be
Yeah,
once in a
once in a
lifetime, and then we ended up having the rematch where John Cena ended up winning the championship from The Rock. So, but kind of same thing, like 17 when I think Rock versus Austin for the last time. We thought that was probably going to be the last time we saw Stone Cold in ring. Um, Fast forward, future WrestleMania, we got to see him versus Kevin Owens, and which was actually a pretty solid one-on-one match. We weren't sure what we were gonna get out of Austin at the time, but this dude is out there taking bumps on the concrete, uh, like he his like 30s, uh, putting on a hell of a show. So it bounces around kind of a little bit. Like 30, I saw 35. Um, that was right before everything shut down because that was 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
that was right before things had to go the opposite way. And 35, I got to see. Let's see, we got to see Batista in that last time to get him to come out there and do his intro. We thought we were gonna get what was it like John Cena Thug? And I know he was like a guest or something. We thought he was gonna do that, but that didn't happen. I got to see Kofi win the WWE Championship off of Brian or Daniel Bryan. Listen, so once you start getting into saying the name the right
Brian
now, it's like,
Danielson, Daniel
um,
Bryan.
so there's different pieces that I can pull out to say like what is like the favorite on there for it. But all I know is like, listen, like we're only a few weeks away from WrestleMania. Once again, it's I don't know why time is just it's just moving. Like I feel like
I
we
smooth thought we
just
had a whole nother month left.
nope,
Nope.
nope. I'm like Jesus. Cody has had that belt now for literally a year. Uh, he's gonna lose it, unfortunately. That's how I feel. Like I know. Hey, listen, this ain't gonna be really prediction. We're gonna talk about. We probably will do, but Cody's gonna lose this championship to evil John Cena. However, Hollywood John
Hey, I need an
Cena.
evil John Cena versus Joe Hendry. Like I need it. I need it.
That would be a cool little thing. Like obviously Joe Hendry wouldn't win unless it would be by like some stipulation or something like that. But we're starting to get the this year's WrestleMania's card is starting to flush itself out. I know we talked on the last episode. This whole thing where Rhea dropping the belt, EO picking it up, and now we're about to have EO defend the championship again against Rhea with Bianca as the special guest referee. And I'm like, are they gonna switch this belt again just in the matter of 2 weeks? Or I'm just guessing Bianca is not gonna allow this match to finish, and this is what's gonna create the triple threat. Because like clearly that's where we're at. Um, but we're getting threat being sown, and we are starting to see this full card come into play. Um, I'm in.
I'm
We're gonna be
excited.
talking about WrestleMania stuff over the next couple weeks. Jump in. I wanted to see our beginnings in WrestleMania actually as we were growing up. So that's kind. I honestly thought you were going to be like either right in line with me. Or I may have been like a step. I felt like you're going to be like a step behind me on there for it. But yeah, cool, cool. What you got?
Uh, I mean, yeah, like everyone has like their first like WrestleMania, like actual WrestleMania that they end up watching, or just something that they hear about in passing. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel just like how everyone watches the Super Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
wrestling fans always watch WrestleMania. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's like their Christmas, their New Year's, their Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Like that's their all right. This is our time to like show off.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, you touched on the production value. The production value has skyrocketed for WrestleMania. When you look at the pyrotechnics, the elaborate displays that they have on the outside of the ring now,
Mm-hmm.
like everything is like amped up to like a million, and it's only going to get higher from that point. What I guess my question would be, what is one thing you feel as though WrestleMania lacks?
Ooh. Ooh. Lax. That's a good one. Um. Oh, you actually got me on that.
Whether it
Um,
be you're watching it from home or if you're physically there, what is one thing that WrestleMania lacks?
dog, it's that's hard to say. You know, like the only thing I can think of, like from a home standpoint, that maybe, you know, you know what I will say. You know, I can't even say that anymore. I was gonna say, you know, like remember when WWF New York existed and they had like the restaurant where there was like a secondary place for people to go and like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, sit, be amongst your people, and so you could watch it if you didn't necessarily go to the big show. I know nowadays there is, you know, a lot of people will just get together and create those type of events, but I feel like there's not that type of thing outside of the show if you don't necessarily go to it. There's not like the, oh hey, this is the official WrestleMania spot to go to if you're not going to the show. Now, by all means, it doesn't necessarily take away for anything, but I feel like it just creates another, a secondary thing where like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go drive to say like WWF New York existed and be able to go do that. Maybe something along the lines of that. But I feel like they would probably try to put it in the same place that WrestleMania is, which I feel like kind of defeats the purpose. But I know now with a lot of the new up to date venues that are starting to come forward. Like I forget the name, not the Sphere, but there's a or maybe it is. No, it's not the Sphere. There's another place that has like the rounded element type of thing
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Yep.
And I think you've seen it where like they have WWE on the big screen, and there's new cameras that are like the turnbuckle that are in strategic places that make you feel like that you're really ringside watching it. So I think stuff like that would be really cool to be a partner with places to be able to do. Um, they don't do like kind of like AEW's like the theater showings. Like I think that could be a small thing, but I know with the way theaters are nowadays, like they probably are scared that a lot of people aren't going to come do this. But with the like being 2 nights, I feel like it's hard to do that now as a theater experience type of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, you know, some places have, you know, hey, WrestleMania on an IMAX screen. That could be really dope. So I think that does take away from people either paying for the pay-per-view or possibly becoming a subscriber to like Peacock right now. So I feel like that's probably part of the reason why they don't do those type of things really anymore. Because for a lot of people, I'm sure you'd take $50 instead of spending it initially on the pay per view itself and be able to go, you know, buy food. Don't get me wrong, we will have it on TV. Like obviously you have a subscription now, so it's not as different. And we're gonna have a smorgasbord of food ready to go. Like just like you said, like for us, this is the Super Bowl. Like for people that don't tune in on a weekly basis, WrestleMania come around, it's like locked in regardless. It's just that like your team, even if your team lost, you still watch the Super Bowl.
Yep.
In WrestleMania, it's kind of that feel. Like even if your favorite wrestler unfortunately didn't make the WrestleMania card, you still watch WrestleMania because of what it is. So for me, it's hard to say that it's lacking something. I think what they've done over the last few years in increasing the production value and doing things with WrestleMania, it's hard to say that there's something missing. Like I say, with the exception of the Bloodline, which has become like this monstrous anomaly amongst everything, I feel like you don't have those same builds we had back in the day. Like even though we saw like The Rock and Austin on a weekly basis, it was just something when you put the two of them together and you created those insane video packages, like having like Limp Biscuit or whoever it is on the track. It just put more behind it for it. So I think that's just with the change of time in the way things are presented. But I don't know, just that secondary place to be able to go and enjoy it with folk. But I couldn't give you like a solid thing they need to extra throw on the card. Music performances, meh. The last couple I feel like they've done, they haven't really been that great. I know they want to try to break the show up, but with as many matches now on the card, and you had over 2 nights, it's I feel like it's hard to like squeeze that in sometimes for it. So, you think something's missing?
I think more female representation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be NXT, whether it be someone they pull out of their um, ID program, whether they do a joint thing with TNA and they get one of the knockouts or a few of the knockouts. I just more female representation. I feel
Okay.
like the their female brand is really starting to thrive,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it deserves more spots on the card. Yes, there are builds that they have to play out, finish out, flesh out, but then
Mm-hmm.
there are some builds that don't need to be on the card to reach its conclusion.
Let's see now. Let's look at now. We can go back to WrestleMania for you. Let's pull up our matches because I feel like last year I feel like they did pretty solid because now the women's division has become all around pretty solid. Let's see if we can get the matches from.
I think we had a women's tag team match, and then we had both women's titles. If I'm not mistaken, they were defended.
You're right. So yeah, both of the women's world champion, well, the world champion and the WWE women's championships were both defended. Um, we had the
Maybe
trios tag between Bianca, Naomi, and Jay versus Damage Control. Um, what other one? So actually, yeah, it was just three because yeah, WWE Championship, the trios championship, and the world championship. So yeah, so there was only three. So I would say going into Mania this year, though, finally, we've been asking for it for a very long time now. The additional championship. So we now with the U.S. and the Intercontinental on the women's side now. I think you kind of get that. I think you get that answer a little bit. Um, and it's just a matter. I'm hoping they don't get regulated to pre-show, but it seems like we're not doing a lot of the pre-show matches anymore.
anymore.
So
Yeah, they're kind
yeah.
of phasing
So
that phasing that out.
so I think now their pre-show matches could be a good way to introduce people. Like obviously NXT is solid. I don't think you need to add them as a pre-show thing. But now that we're doing like the WWE ID and all that type of thing, that could be a good place to try to showcase some of the young up and coming talent.
What's it? Future
Oh,
future champion. Whatever the
the new
from the
thing. I can't
program.
think of. I can't think of the
Yeah,
acronym. I know exactly.
like that. Oh, LFG.
LFG. Thank you.
That's not what actual LFG stands for, but would I guess anything can be trademarked with an acronym.
It can be, and
But
with WWE that money, you make anything work. Listen, at one point we thought we were going to lose heat. The WWE went and wrote that check and was like, no, we need Yeet, and damn it, that paid off beautifully for them. But no, so yeah, I can say I think that'll be a good thing this year. I think you're gonna have a good solid between let's obviously the world champion being defended, the WWE Women's Championship being defended. Hopefully, the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championships will both be defended. Um, Not to mention we'll have probably going to get Jade versus Naomi, potentially. So you're talking 5 matches right there, which would
hopefully,
be hopefully, which would be amazing. Now, obviously, they could take one of the U.S. or the Intercontinental Championship and have one of them defended on the Raw or SmackDown beforehand. It is a possibility, but I believe when you're on the WrestleMania stage, every single championship should be defended. I feel like WrestleMania is just that. It's that no, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're a champion, you're defending your title. Whether you have this built up story or somehow you issue like the open challenge on there. I'd rather it be a dope story build right now. Like outside of um
I mean, but we're not gonna see War Raiders on like day one or day two. Like I don't see them defending their WWE tag team championships at WrestleMania. I don't see it. It's like if you were to ask me who the War Raiders are feuding with right now, I couldn't tell you, which is why I don't believe it will be defended at WrestleMania. Like I don't see it. Maybe
uh,
is it American made? I think it's American
American
made.
made, the Creed brothers would be a good spot for the Texans. Then we got both on both sides, Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Champions to be defended. So um, I don't know. I feel like you don't have to regulate. I'm looking right now. I'm pretty sure without the other two, I believe the both tags were defended. Well,
Well,
last year I think we only
they
had the one.
yeah, Smack I don't even know what they're calling the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, but they lost their championships because now the Street Profits are champions. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Street Profit again. I don't see them immediately defending at WrestleMania. I would like them
Mm-hmm.
to, but I don't see them doing that.
Mm-hmm.
This go around.
Mm-hmm. Dig it. So, but I think you'll get what you want. If they include all the women's matches on the card, I think you'll have a good piece of representation on there for it.
Like I can see like Lara coming out and just like issuing an open challenge, and then Becky Lynch's music hits.
Yeah, it's about time. It's about time for Becky to show back up. Whether it's her just making an appearance or they'll just save her for Raw or SmackDown after Mania. Like, I don't want her to do what she did. Bianca that one year just come out and I don't want to see that again. So just let her show up at Raw or SmackDown afterwards and go after whoever. If anything, unfortunately, Charlotte's probably gonna win. And then if that ends up
I
setting
hope
Becky up
not.
to go after Charlotte, then maybe so.
I really
But
hope she loses.
could be. Any other piece you think you need to add into it?
No, I'm good.
Dig it. All right, y'all. These have been our discussions for the Finisher Podcast, episode 17. So let us know, what was your first Mania that you actually watched? And just like Marcus said, what do you think? More women's representation on WrestleMania card? You think we're gonna see that? I'm pretty confident we will, but let us know what you think. Um, Appreciate you guys, however you're consuming this content, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you listen to it on Spotify, we greatly appreciate it, whichever way you do it. We're about to get out of here because we got to record one last little segment for us to put up for our Patreon subscribers. Marcus, anything else you want to throw in before we get out of here?
Yeah, just because your back is against the ropes doesn't mean you can't move forward.
And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode. Go to the finisher. Deuces.
Ta ta for now.
Loading snacks.